Okay guys, welcome back to our episode 8 of our how to build a space hopper game using the Unity engine. In today's episode we are going to be working on fixing the jumping. So we're going to try and only allow our astronaut to jump twice unless they have landed on a platform. Then obviously that gets reset and then you can jump another 2 times. And then the next thing is we are going to start working on ending the game. So when the astronaut either falls off of a platform and you have no jumps left, and you obviously fall down like off the screen at the bottom. So we're going to add in like a little trigger box off the screen underneath the end of the scene, and that box is going to trigger the game to end. And then what else we're going to do? So I think that's currently it. So let's jump into here and see. So I've split up what we need to do into 4 different bullet points. So quick and easy, make the astronaut jump max of 2 times. We're going to try and see if we can get that done quick. And then we're going to change, I forgot to mention this, but we need to change our collider on our platforms, because at the moment if we play the game, I can show you here, sometimes the astronaut, when you jump into a platform from underneath and you hit it slightly from underneath by accident, sometimes it actually gets destroyed. Why can't I? Okay, hold on. So here we go. So let's see if we can try and trigger one of these. So if you see for that one, on some of them you can actually break them from underneath, and that's not what we want. So what we want to do is we want to go and change that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start with that one. So I'm hoping that that's going to be a quick and easy fix. So for that, I think I will go ahead and open up our platform. What's it called? Platform prefab. That's what it is. And we're actually just going to jump into our scene view here, and we're gonna change the collider on this. So we're gonna make it a little bit smaller. I might actually just replace it with a square collider, or a rectangle rather, because if we go ahead and customize this, actually it might work. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to just be like that, so that you can only really trigger it when you're on top of the platform. So when you land from here and there, we probably could leave it like that, or we could just go ahead and delete it, which I'm just going to do that because it makes more sense. So just go ahead and remove that, and then I'm going to add in another collider. We're going to add in a box collider 2D, and we're going to do the exact same thing here by simply rescaling this and making it fit just the top of our platform like that. So we kind of wanted to start with our curve of our platform starts, or finishes, or starts, depending on which way you look at it. And we'll do the same for the other side. So here we'll move this up to there, and hopefully that will work a little bit better. So let's play the game and hopefully see that our platform, actually this is not going to work, I can tell you why, because now our astronaut will still, well, not still, but it will go through our platform until it hits that collider. So we need to fix that as well. So what I'm going to do is I am going to open up our platform again, and for this I am going to add in a secondary collider. It probably is a better way to do this, but just for the purpose of this game and how quick it is, I'm going to do it this way. So for this collider, I am going to add in a collider, or a tag onto this collider, and we are going to name it break platform collider. So I'm going to name it that. So copy that and we'll save that. And then what I'll do is I'll add in a completely different collider, wherever that is. So onto our platform, let's add in, or on our collider game object, we'll add in another collider on here, another box collider. I'm going to rescale this one to fit the entire platform, excluding the platform or the collider that we just made, like that. Actually, I'm going to make this one a sphere or whatever it was, a capsule collider 2D, just so that it curves around the edges a little bit. So we'll do that, we'll rescale that, push that out to the edges and push that to the edge at the bottom, and then we will rescale that like that, and then for the box one we will move it up like that. So what I will do is, okay, so we need to add in another game object here just so we can separate our colliders. So let's say base collider like that, and then we're gonna re-add in that collider again. Sorry about that. What are we gonna do? So for this one we will copy component and we will stick that value on there, and then we will, let's see, how do we do that? Rotation 90, so that's like that. And then all we need to do is we need to go ahead and remove this component. So for this we will go and add in that brake collider on there, and for our base collider we don't really need to put anything on that because we're not going to be using that for anything except for, what am I doing? Except for not allowing our astronaut to go through our platform. So the only reason for that base capsule collider at the bottom was to stop our astronaut from going through our platform. So now we can hopefully see that our platform shouldn't break unless, where's the astronaut? Unless you stand on it from the top. Hopefully. There we go. So let's just go into our code here and have a look quick. So let's see, platform collider, we'll open that up, and then we will check and see. First of all, we don't need that, we can get rid of that. In fact, we can get rid of the entire update method. So let's see, platform tag, where we're using that. Okay, so we don't need that there. What we do need to see is on collision enter, so this is where we collide with our collider. So if is landed and false, well, if is landed equal to false, set increase the score. Is landed is equal to true. Random, okay, get a random value and see if you need to destroy it. So that's fine. So what we need to do is we need to say, actually let's see, do we, now that we've added in a second collider, do we actually increase the score every time we collide with both, well, each of the colliders? Because if we do, that's not correct. We need to go and change that. So okay, so we don't add a score unless we start, or unless we land on the platform from above, which is kind of what we want. But something that we also need to figure out now, if I can find a platform that does not involve, okay, so you can see our astronaut's still jumping multiple times, so let's try and figure out why that is. So astronaut, do we save this? So if key code, okay, so let's try to just say get key, maybe that will work, and maybe that will fix it. So if we jump into our game here, hopefully we can see now, hopefully the astronaut doesn't continuously jump whenever you press the spacebar. So if we press play, we will wait for that to load, and while we're doing that, let's go and say change collide to fix. We've done that, so we'll take that off. So now we can play the game. Okay, so our astronaut is still currently jumping multiple times, as you can see. But I think everything else is working well. That's just one issue that we need to figure out why. I think I might have an idea, but we'll save that for another time. So let's try and get this make astronaut only allowed to jump twice. So for this, what we want to do is we want to say, thinking about this, we might actually need to figure out why our astronaut is currently jumping all the time. So first of all, let me do something quick. Here in our jump method, I'm going to say debug.log jump. I'm just going to print out the word jump every time our jump method is called, which is every frame, but the debug.log method or debug.log line of code will only get called when we press the spacebar. So I just want to see that if that actually gets called when our astronaut is kind of hopping, which I don't think it does. But let's just see. Let's just debug our code. So if we play this, as soon as we press jump, okay, so we can see it's not been called again, but there it got called again. So any ready gets called when we press space, which is what we want. So that's fine. So why is astronaut still hopping? So that's fine. Let's try and work on that. So we'll figure out the hopping thing later. It's not a big issue for now, so we'll clear that. So what we want to do is we only want our astronaut to be allowed to jump twice. So in this we are going to need a integer that keeps track of how many times we've jumped. So for that we'll add this to our global script just so we can access it from multiple classes if needed. So here we'll say public static int, what do we call this? Jump limit, like that. So we'll call that jump limit, and that is equal to 2. And then we will also add another one called public static int number of jumps is equal to 0 at the start, because obviously at the start of the game you haven't jumped yet. So when our astronaut jumps, which is over here, we want to go and say global dot number of jumps plus, which I think is going to be a problem because this method gets called on multiple frames when you press the space bar. So when you press the space bar, jump gets called every frame because it's in the update method. So I have a feeling that that is not going to work the way I want it to. So let's try and see. Debug, what am I doing? Debug.log global dot number of jumps, like that. So if this is going to work the way I think it is, it's going to add 1 every time that method is called. So by the looks of how it was calling it for our jump over here, it is going to print out probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6, depending on how long you hold down the spacebar for. So let us have a look and see. So if we press play, we should be able to see as soon as we jump. Okay, so there you go. That's so you can see how many times the space, well, that method is called every time we jump, because like I said, it's called every frames, and if we have like multiple frames per second, it's going to be called every single frame. So that's not what we want. So we need to try and figure out a different way to do this. So we can get rid of that. And here we need to try and figure out a different way to restrict the number of jumps of our astronaut. So what can we do? We can't put in an update because obviously that's the issue we're having now, and that will be called every frame. If input.keycode let's see. If we put in another restriction in here and say if global dot is grounded, then so if the astronaut is grounded, so no, that's not going to work, because if it is grounded then we need to reset our number of jumps back to 0, so that's not going to work. So how can we do this? So we have an astronaut that is allowed to jump multiple times. Interesting. I probably should have thought of a way to do that before I started filming this video, but anyway, let's see. Maybe I will leave that bit until the next episode so I can have a little bit of a think and try and figure out how to do that. But for now, let's move on to the next one, because that might take a while to figure out. So let's go ahead and add in this trigger box that destroys our astronaut and restarts the game. So if we jump into our scene view here, let's go back into the game sample scene, or we can probably change that to game scene. So in here, let's go and add in an empty object, and we'll add in a box collider to that. And what is it? We're going to change this to game over trigger, like that. And then for our collider, we're going to rescale that. We're just going to make it quite big, like that. And then we will go ahead and reset that, and then we'll set that equal to 0, and we'll probably just set that equal to 5. 1, we can probably just say 0.5 for that. Maybe it doesn't need to be big, as long as the astronaut touches it slightly, it should trigger it. And then what we will do is we will move that down to the bottom over here, probably to about here. Let's have a look and see. So does our astronaut fit in there? So if we put our astronaut like over there, do we need to move that a bit more? So we'll move it down to there, and then our astronaut we'll put back up on our platform over there. So now we need to create, do we need to create another script for this? Yeah, we do. Let's do that. So we'll add in another script called out of bounds script, like that. So we'll create that, and then we'll go back into here, and then we will move that into our scripts, and then we can move this one in here as well. So we'll open this one up, and then we probably don't need any of those yet. All we need is our on collision enter 2D, and here we will say destroy collision, we'll need brackets first, destroy collision dot game object. So that's going to destroy the astronaut. So let's see if that works. So that should that should destroy, or yeah, destroy the astronaut and take it out of that game. So if we play this and we switch over to our scene view here, you should see that as the astronaut moves down and gets or hits that trigger box, so if we click on our scene, that should destroy our astronaut, which it does. You can see it's no longer an astronaut in our scene, which is fine. So now we need to go and restart the game. So let's see how we do that. So let's say restart game, like that, and here we'll say private private void, what is it, restart, like that. Why can't I type? Okay, so restart game, and in here we want to restart the game. So for that, let's see, global, we need to reset our score, and then we're gonna have to reset our number of jumps when we figure that out. And we're also going to reset our is grounded is equal to true, because obviously our astronaut will now revert back to the original platform, this one, and obviously it's going to be grounded on that platform. So let's have a look and say global dot score is equal to 0. Let's go to Google and see if we can figure out a way. Unity restart game from script. Is there a how to restart the game? Unity answered. Get accuracy in name. Let's try it. Let's go back into it and try it. And just reload our complete scene. So if that does work, then we don't really need to reset our score, because obviously it will be set to the beginning of the scene, and at the beginning of the scene the score is set to 0. So let's try and say, well, first of all we need to import it, so using Unity engine.scene management, and in here we can go and say scene manager.load scene. Let's load our scene, whatever it's called, sample scene. So we'll say sample scene like that. Hopefully that works. So let's jump back into Unity here and see if hopefully our game gets reset. I feel like I've done this before and it doesn't work. But let's have a look and see if it does work. That'll be great, because that will save us from having to code all of the reset out. So let's see. Okay, so it does work. So just to make sure, let's actually play the game quick. Okay, so if we get some score, and I don't think it's working, because let's try. So if we destroy that, okay, so it's not currently working. It is working, but it's not resetting our score. So let's try and say global dot score is equal to 0, like that. Hopefully that will reset the score as well. And then if it does, I think that will be it for this episode. So we've done that, we'll tick that off, and then we're working on destroying the astronaut. Well, we've done that, so we'll also take that off. So now let's play the game quick and see. Hopefully now our score also gets reset. So if that does, that takes care of resetting the score. Okay, so let's see. So let's jump on that one, get some score. Okay, so if we press, okay, so that does work. That does reset our score, which is fine. So that's good, looking good. So we can try this once more time. So it keeps getting reset to 0. Okay, so in our, we'll save that. And yeah, so I think that's it for this episode. But in the next episode, episode 9, which will hopefully be the second last episode, or maybe even the last one. But we need to do some, like, we need to touch on some of the finer details, like pausing the game after it's reset, because as you can see, the game is just continuously going unless you press the pause button. So that we need to do, we probably will add in like a play button, so when the game gets launched you have to press the play button in order for the game to start. What else do we want to do? We also want to fix that jump, so we can only allow the astronaut to jump twice. And then maybe we might add in a collectible that you have to collect off some of the platforms that will get spawned randomly. But I think that is it for this episode. So thank you so much for watching. If you made this far, if you have, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video. So again, thank you, and I'll see you next week, or next, in whatever it is, in a couple of days. But anyway, thank you and goodbye.